This is the Orioles Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Baltimore Orioles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hard to believe that this is the end of the line. Party's over. Last one to leave town. Turn the lights out, would you? Final score from Yankee Stadium. The New York Yankees 3 and the Baltimore Orioles 2. This is the Orioles Postcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm Luke Slabaugh. You might remember I was this bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, surprisingly tan and slender man on opening day who appeared out of nowhere without an introduction, without anything, and was here to host the post-game show as was assigned to me. And in this time and the 162 games of the season, I've gotten to know so many of you in the Orioles community on the East Coast and beyond. Go ahead and leave your final thoughts here in the stream if you're watching here live on YouTube. Show's also available on demand wherever you get your podcasts for free. This is episode 144. I urge you, I implore you, if you're an O's fan, if you're a baseball junkie, if you're just here for the first time, you caught us at a bad time, as this is the last post-game show we'll do. However, Connor Newcomb has content every day on the show, does an A-plus job. You'll meet some great people here. So subscribe, like, no matter your allegiance, you're welcome here. And I'm happy that you are here with me on this Sunday night. Orioles get swept by the Yankees, and mercifully, this season comes to an end.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Was holding out hope for one last ounce of Orioles magic in this season, particularly to just thwart the AL East crown hopes for the Bronx Bombers. Sadly, that wasn't the case. The O's finished the season 75-87. If you'd had this conversation with someone 6 months ago, they would have been scratching their heads. How did we get here? How did this happen? The O's currently have the 7th worst record in baseball and the 4th best odds in the upcoming draft lottery. The Rockies, the Nats, and the Angels can't pick higher than 10th because they sucked last year. And the Atlanta Braves, who were in a deadlock tie with the Orioles, won today. Shout out to our old friend Charlie Morton, in likely his last career appearance, helping lead them to a win. The O's have an interim manager. They're a team in transition. And a team that surprisingly lacked pop at the plate. For the first time since 2001, the O's will not have a 20 home run hitter. For the first time in team history, they will have a 3-way tie for the home run lead between Jackson Holliday, Gunnar Henderson, and Jordan Westburg. If you had said that to an Orioles fan 1 year ago that these three would be tied for the home run lead, you'd think, well, golly, 35-40 a pop. Jackson Holliday is the second coming? No mas. However, the O's do get on the board. They avoid a shutout at the very least, going up against right-hander Luis Gil. Gil pitches 5 innings in the season finale for the Yankees. And we go top 4. 1 out. Jordan Westburg, 96-mile-an-hour fastball, goes middle. 4-14 to the opposite bullpen to make it a 1-1 ball game. Gunnar Henderson, next batter. 2-1 count, fastball low and in, right in his wheelhouse. Been an off year for Gunnar, especially the last month and a half. It has been painful to see. He had just gone 31 games without hitting a home run, which is so out of character. On a contending team, if Gunnar Henderson, because he is a team player and does take selfless at-bats, gets on base, plays the game the right way, swipes a bag, plays good defense. If there were preeminent power hitters in front of him and behind him, you'd think cool. But 17th home run for Gunnar in about twice as many games as Jordan Westburg makes it a 2-1 ball game. Back-to-back jacks, one last time for the O's. Sadly, it's a game where they go 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. Can't do anything with men on. And that is a problem that has persisted not just with Cody Ashe, but with John Mabry coming in mid-season as well to try and help the team. There's a lot left on the table, a lot of meat left on the bone, to quote a friend of mine, former Baltimore Raven, Ricky Brown. Cobb Radish takes the bump in his season finale. And in 6 starts back from Tommy John, he was the ace that you wanted. a 2.53 ERA. Ran into some trouble with Ben Rice. First pitch fastball home run there with 2 outs in the bottom of the first. 25th of the season for Rice, made it a 1-0 game. And then a tumultuous bottom of the fourth. Aaron Judge singles on a 2-seamer in. Cody Bellinger goes oppo on the 2-seam. And Giancarlo Stanton on a full count, 2-seamer in on the hands. Credit to Bradish for challenging him in. Lofts a single to left field, makes it a 2-2 ball game. From there, Bradish strikes out 3 consecutive batters. Austin Wells on a backdoor slider, Anthony Volpe, the 2-seamer, and Ryan McMahon on the curveball. 4 innings for Kyle Bradish. Interim manager Tony Mansolino pulls him after a cool 69 pitches. Nice. 8 strikeouts and no walks for Bradish. Struck out the side twice, and 15 whiffs for Bradish. Unfortunately, the bullpen can't pick him up, and that will be a subject for discussion by Mike Elias and then a new incoming GM below him and their pro scouts. It's a subject of tonight's Turning Point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the Turning Point.
2-time Oriole Rico Garcia goes up against who else but Ben Rice. Bottom of the 8th, 2-2 count, no one on, high 4-seam fastball. This time Rice goes oppo taco. Rice and tacos, they pair well together. Makes it a 3-2 ball game, and that is our final score. The O's, and there are games going on right now here live at 6:11 on the East Coast. The O's finished the season with a 4.60 staff ERA. That's tied with Miami for 25th in baseball. Bottom tier in the league. The team OPS at 699, currently 21st in baseball. Some games still going on, yet to go final. However, it would seem that that is where the O's will stick. A team that the last 2 years was the cream of the crop of the AL East. Has a lot of questions to ask. And maybe not overcorrect. However, there's a burden that rests on the shoulders of this young core. Will they step up in 2026? And how do you make this team better? Obviously, addressing the rotation would be huge. Getting some security in the back end of the bullpen. And probably finding a contact hitter. I've pounded the table for Alex Bregman on this show. Doesn't seem like a fit. Solve a lot of problems. I implore you, I urge you to stick around for the final block of this show. It will be unlike anything you have seen all season. We'll go through some stats that you want to know, some you don't want to know, unrelated to the product on the field. And I'll have a parting message for you all as we close the chapter on 2025. I'm not selling this enough, but we'll go through a lot of things about the show that you might be curious about. This is the Orioles Postcast. Need me some 5-hour energy to get through this goodbye. Flavor upgrades all over the place. Did you know that 5-hour energy has 17 flavors? 0 sugar, 0 crashes. All the caffeine of a 12-ounce cup of coffee. A premium cup of coffee, says the ad copy. It's super portable. Throw the darn thing in your fridge and forget about it. It's so tiny, but it's so effective. I love how fast it kicks in and that it's sugar-free, so I don't have to worry about crashing later. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. Time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-hour energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold. Try something new in-store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or on Amazon today. Got to stick something in between the teeth. Got to. It's a gots to situation. It's Zippix. You want nicotine? I got Zippix. You want caffeine? I got 5-hour energy. And I got Zippix. For nicotine, maybe you don't want to get caught smoking. Maybe the stigma came to your part of the country. Maybe in the 2 Americas, there was a Zippix phobia. 6 great flavors, 2 milligrams, count it, 3 milligrams nicotine option. And if you need energy without the crap, caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. Go to zippixtoothpicks.com. Use code LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. Must be 21 or older to order because nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's ZippixToothpicks.com, promo code locked on. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix Toothpicks. One more time for the boys at Nutrafol. Last ad copy I read on this channel, and it's going to be about something that I got too much of, and that's hair. And that's Nutrafol. You've seen millions of ads for hair growth products, and you thought, no way, no way. Nutrafol, I say yes way. Yes way for Tress way. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And now, get this, Nutrafol is the official hair growth partner of Major League Baseball. You feel great about what you're putting in your body since Nutrafol hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF content certified, the gold standard and third-party certification for supplements. Simple to add to your day. 4 pills with a meal, no prescription needed. Easy. 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 See thicker, stronger, more beautiful, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Now back to the show. All right. The block that you have all been asking and waiting for. I appreciate you tuning in here. 3-2 loss at the hands of the Yankees here in the season finale. So some stats. How have we gotten to this point? And for those of you left here tuning in live on YouTube, I thought you would want to know a little about me. This is my first full baseball season, really, at the major league level. And so we take a look at some of the stats here. I would say that when we come on, guys. Who did that? All right, here we are. If you're watching on the YouTube, this should be fun. We have 144 of these puppies in the bank. Now, keep in mind there were 5 doubleheaders this year. So that's 149 games we covered here on the post-game show. Some of you might remember I got very sick in July, still recovering from that. But 3 games I missed due to illness right before the All-Star break. Parlayed that into a nice week off. I missed the Royals series at the start of May to see one of my best friends, Brendan, get married down in Houston, Texas. And then 7 days where I respected the work-life balance and I had to log more hours at my job. So 13 games missed. Those are your stats. So I only really missed 3 of these games because I love my friends so much. Now, you might be wondering, Trevor Rogers gets most valuable Oriole of the year as awarded by the organization. And according to you, the viewers and listeners, and according to this Locked On Player of the Game award that we gave out, that is correct. You might need to squint a little bit for our viewing audience. If you're listening, I will read this to you. Trevor Rogers, having won 9 games this season for the Orioles, he wins our Player of the Game award 7 times. Gunnar Henderson right behind him at 6. Some great late game plays made by Gunnar, some very clutch situations for him throughout this. People forget how on fire Cedric Mullins was in April. He carried this offense for the first 30 days of the season. And behind him, right-hander Tomoyuki Sagano, we mentioned this yesterday, was good out the gate in April and passable in May before the league figured him out. Our old friend Charlie Morton turned the corner in a huge way on Memorial Day. I was at that game with my buddy Willie Brown and his fiancee Christine Coughlin at Camden Yards. We watched that game. We did not expect anything out of Charlie Morton, but that was the turnaround, his first of 4 Player of the Game awards. Samuel Basayo, the last month of the season, hasn't it for average. The strikeouts are a concern. He did have a couple of walk-offs. And when he joined the lineup in mid-August, did reinvigorate part of that lineup. You go back to the Houston series, and around that time, back when Westberg, before he hurt his ankle, it looks like that was a force to be reckoned with. Adley Rutschman with 4, most in the first half of the season. Pretty much all of them in the first half of the season. And Jackson Holiday with 4 as well. You might notice that the number of wins does not pair up with the actual amount that the O's finished with 75 on the year. So Early on in the season, I was told not to do this, but we gave a couple of awards out during losses. I know Jackson has one of those, and I think O'Hearn does as well. And we did some dual player of the game awards late in the season as well by popular demand. Dean Kramer, after a sour April, turned things on and finished as a respectable bottom of the rotation starter. Ramon Laureano had some gripes from the fans early on in April because he was not living up to the bill of hitting left-handed pitchers. But in a pinch, and especially that game against Cincinnati with 2 home runs, he became a fan favorite, then went on a torrid stretch, which is continuing today with the San Diego Padres. There was a 2-week stretch where Gary Sanchez was the best hitter in baseball, hit a grand slam, and then hurt his knee and was never heard from again. But really, those 2 weeks, Gary Sanchez was tearing the cover off the ball. Jordan Westburg finishes the season with 17 home runs, the same amount as Gunnar Henderson in about half the games played. That's concerning. Zach Eflin, top of the rotation, makeshift guy early in April before suffering a lat strain, then had lower back injuries in the second half of the year, which was disappointing. Ryan O'Hearn was on pace for a career year, maybe not as much pop as we thought in his bat, but still played a serviceable right field and first base and was packaged with Laureano to go to San Diego for a haul of prospects. September was Kobe Mayo's month. We discussed that yesterday. 5 home runs in the month of September, and best of luck to him in 2026 as he hopes to turn things on. Jeremiah Jackson is probably the best surprise that the O's got this year. 25 years old, not a heralded prospect, a former second rounder by the Los Angeles Angels, and went on a tear the final 2 months of the season. Pitching started to figure him out around the league. However, he will be an intriguing utility piece in 2026 if that is the route the O's take. Emmanuel Rivera with a couple of clutch games against West Coast teams. That 4 RBI game against the Padres stands out. Dylan Beavers with a couple of walk-offs. He and Samuel Basayo have 4 walk-off wins between them in the month of September. Left-hander Cade Povich is still putting it together, likely a bullpen arm. Felix Bautista with some clutch saves early in this one. Also, some dismal games, particularly the ones against the Nationals and the one before Brandon Hyde was fired as manager. Heston Kjerstad played a role in that 6-game win streak in June. Believe there was a triple against the Mariners, it might have been. Yeah, that sounds about right. Matt Bowman with a solid relief outing thrown in there somewhere. Jacob Stallings, the 5th catcher used by the O's this season. He had a clutch hit in Atlanta to power them to a series sweep over the Bravos. Tyler O'Neill beat the heck out of the Blue Jays, and that's it. 54 games for Tyler O'Neill this year, and he needs to take a huge step forward in terms of health and productivity in 2026. 2 more years to go on this contract. You got to make it work. Brandon Young finished 4 outs shy of the first perfect game in Orioles history. The best pitching outing we've seen by an Oriole all year from the inconsistent and erratic Brandon Young. Ryan Mountcastle lost his power stroke, but had a couple of solid games thrown in there. Colton Cowser, we found out this year by our friend Andy Koska, has been playing most of the year with broken ribs after breaking his thumb during the 4th game of the season sliding into first base. He has been banged up all year long and was just a few homers shy of the team lead in home runs. Tyler Wells, an intriguing rotation piece potentially, or a bullpen arm if the O's choose to go that way in 2026. Those are your players of the game, and we have one last more to give out before we wrap on 2025.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
It's you, the fans. I am grateful for every single one of you watching right now. And I am grateful for the everyday commenters, the people who comment on Connor's show, the people who make this a community that is worth coming to every day. I joined this channel and the Locked On Podcast Network in March in a very interesting transition period of my life. And this was a burden. This was a thing that I never really thought I would do. Most of my background, I was working in the TV space, live reporting, anchoring, done some play-by-play, and had bounced around quite a bit and was looking for a place to latch on. I am super grateful to Sam Ekstrom and Tom Lee, among others, for bringing me on and mentoring me every step of the way. This was not a smooth ride for 144 episodes. Far from it. There were some instances where I failed and didn't live up to the bill. And there were instances where it was really hard to stay up on the East Coast for the 10 o'clock starts, where the O's sometimes didn't play their best. And joining here on opening day, I remember it was very jarring for a lot of you. Um, that you saw someone hosting on this channel that was not your main guy. And credit to a lot of you for welcoming me and playing the game, doing the floppy hat gag, doing inside jokes. Some of you I know by name, some of you follow me on social media. I will always be around to talk to you guys about baseball or whatever you want to, sports, football, anything going on in the great state of Maryland, anything. I've become attached to you guys and I really love it. Some of you were more critical, and I am grateful for that because I did make a habit of going through and reading comments, not just on my show, but on Connor's through the social media feeds. I know we're not so much an active Twitter account anymore. I'm not a big tweeter myself. However, I did know that it was a hard adjustment for some of you. And the idea was to make the show look and feel different than the main one. Yeah, the interface is the same, where you got the rundown on the side. However, I think my preconceived notions about podcasters was that it was the dude who didn't work out, who had the full beard, who kind of sat in his mom's basement and just fired off hot takes. I myself am not a hot takes artist, and that was not palatable to me. And so a lot of it was recap, a lot of it was analysis, a lot of it was interacting with you all. And you all have done amazing. You all have lived up to your end of the bargain. And for that, I am super grateful for all of you. And now it is time to close the book on this show. Let's talk about the future of the Orioles postcast. It will be around in 2026. Will I be hosting it? I don't know. That is the honest question and answer exchange that I can give. I'd love to. And I have spoken with the powers that be at this network in particular, the Locked On Podcast Network, about latching on in a football capacity and doing more expanded coverage, on site stuff. Had a lot of big ideas for this show and this channel. And we'll see what happens. But for now, this will likely be it for me on the Locked On Orioles channel. It's been a challenging year. For me personally, I have moved 3 times this year. For those of you who are listening only, who have never gone on and watched on the YouTube, first of all, why aren't you watching the YouTube? This is game 162. Let's get on that. But yeah, the studio in the background has changed multiple times, from Maryland to Northern Virginia to other exploits. I have been all over the country. Another thing I would say is I hope that the reputation and the esteem of this show, and not just the people who run it, but just this network, Locked On, gains more prominence in the public eye and in the eye of Major League Baseball organizations. It's a slippery slope for baseball teams to take podcasts and coverage seriously. Everyone wants a slice. And I understand if you give one podcast credentials and you allow them to access the team and tell the stories that they want to tell, you open the floodgates for everyone to pound you and pelt you with applications for media credentials. I do think that um, the professional resume of some of the broadcasters on this channel and on this network should be held in higher regard. And that's all I'll say about that. And particularly the team that we're covering now, they could have benefited, I believe, from Locked On Orioles getting more insight into what was going on in a very turbulent time in this team's history, and particularly in this cycle with Mike Elias, president of baseball ops, and the firing of Brandon Hyde. There's a lot going on here. And I hope that Locked On Orioles can tell good stories. I hope they can have good interviews. I hope they can elevate and amplify this team so that you feel more connected to them than you ever have. It's a big competition out there, sports media, and particularly in baseball. And that's the message that I would want to leave to the organization and to everyone else watching is that these people mean business here. Locked On gets about 4 to 5 million listeners a day just across all the channels. It's big business. There's good people, there's dedicated people. And that I think you guys know it. I wish the people in suits knew it better. So this is it. I don't want to say goodbye. I will have to shut the door on this show, but I want to let you know that this was special. You and me, whether we were listening in the car, traveling somewhere, or we were catching up before work, trying to figure out how the Orioles did, whether we're watching live on YouTube right now, it was a good run. It was a good run. Not the Orioles. That was cataclysmic. I don't want to talk about this ever again. I don't want to talk about this season ever again. However, I want you to know that I'm here. And if we should meet again in 2026, I can't wait. Hope that the odds have changed and are in Baltimore's favor. And if we don't, you know where to find me. You find me on social media. We can talk baseball. We can talk football. We can talk whatever you want, not politics. We can talk about anything you want. But for now, uh, it's not so much a goodbye, but a see you later. It's meant a lot. And wherever this journey takes us, I want to let you know that we're friends and I wish you all the best. Good night, stay safe, and I'll see you in 2026.